بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وهو خير ناصر ومعين. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة لأهل التقوى واليقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد وعلى الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه اللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Inshallah, this being the second last session, we will talk about the commonalities in the beliefs and some practices today, and next week inshallah it will be the common practices between the Shias and the Sunnis. Islam, which is submission to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This world by Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, and the Quran says, وَاسْمَاكُمُ الْمُسْلِمُونَ Hazrat Ibrahim has named his children Muslims. So that was commonly used from Hazrat Ibrahim onwards. Anyone who has called themselves to be anything but Muslims, they have deviated from the path. For example, the ones who call themselves Jews, or Yahud, or Christians, or Nasara, these are all the ones who deviated from Islam. Islam was the main religion. It always existed as Islam. All the prophets put forward the religion Islam. And the first kalima, the first part of the kalima was always the same. La ilaha illallah. The prophets when came, for example, Adam Safiyullah, Nuh Najiyullah, La ilaha illallah, Ibrahim Khalilullah, for example. La ilaha illallah, Musa Kalimullah, La ilaha illallah, Isa Ruhullah. Until it came the time of the Holy Prophet, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Islam has always been the religion, and people have deviated from Islam. Now, just as many of the other religions, they were named after the main prophet who preached. Joda, for example, had preached Judaism, and that's why they call themselves Jews. Or from Christ, they became Christians. And you would find in many of the encyclopedias and also in Oxford English dictionary that Muslims or Muhammadans or Muslims, that's how they would write it. They want to name us after our Prophet, but the Muslims always emphasize that no, the Holy Prophet had said that no, you would call yourselves Muslims. Many times a term Muslim, because in English when you write S, a single S, then they would pronounce it with a Z sound, Muslim. And because Muslim is from Zulm, Muslim, it means the one who oppresses. We try and emphasize not to call ourselves Muslims, but emphasize with a double S sound, Muslim, rather than saying Muslims. We're Muslims. We're not Muslims, we are Muslims. Muslim is an Arabic term for a person who believes in Islam. And in Farsi and Urdu we use the word Musalman. Musalman has been derived from a Farsi text. Allama Iqbal and all the poets who have used the word Musalman is from basically Farsi, Musalman, anyone who believes in Islam. But the Arabic term is Muslim, and that's what we should try and emphasize. We're all Muslims. In fact, we should not even introduce ourselves as Sunnis and Shias to non-Muslims at all. Even to ourselves, we're first Muslims than anything else. And that is what the main emphasis should be. Yes, we may have our own denominations and our own further descriptions of being Shias and Sunnis, or within Shias, which kind of Shia you are, Zaydiya or Ismaili or Isnashari, 12 for example. Or in Ahl Sunnah they'll go into being the Barelvi, Deobandi, whatever that you want to know. But mainly we're all Muslims. That is the main thing. So this is the most common thing that we all have. We're all Muslims. We all submit to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we all believe in La ilaha illallah. There is no God but Allah. The base of Islam is Tawheed. Kalimat Tawheed is the base of Islam. And anyone who rejects the Tawheed has rejected Islam. Anyone who rejects the concept of one God is no longer with Christians and others who say we believe in one God, but they also have Trinity, or they believe in a Son of God or some other prophet. We believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not dissolve into anything, hulul. He does not have harakatu sukoon, because motion or stillness. Because stillness is a is a characteristic that is given to motion, and movement is only and only specified to space and time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is beyond space and time. These are all philosophical and theological arguments which I do not wish to go into. But these are all the things that the Muslims over the many centuries have written in their books, in theological books, in philosophical books. People like Farabi, Ibn Sina, and the greatest scholars from both sides. These are the fundamental basis of Islam. And then the Holy Prophet, he is a central pillar of the Muslim belief and faith. It is only after the Holy Prophet that the Muslims were divided on the succession of the Holy Prophet. So, and we've already talked about that. But the Holy Prophet himself is unanimously accepted as the supreme authority after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Holy Prophet is the supreme authority, and when he orders, فَمَنْ يُطِعِ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ. The Quran says, whoever has obeyed the Holy Prophet has obeyed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everyone paying attention? Allah does not say, فَمَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ الرَّسُولَ. Whoever obeys Allah has obeyed the Prophet. No, Allah says, فَمَنْ يُطِعِ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ. Whoever has obeyed the Prophet has obeyed Allah. Because what would many Muslims do is, they would disobey the Holy Prophet, but they say, no, because I'm obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is obedient to you, Ya Rasulullah. But Allah says, no. Obedience to the Prophet is obedience to me. You have to obey the Prophet, and that would be my obedience. فَمَنْ يُطِعَ الرَّسُولَ فَقَدْ أَطَاعَ اللَّهَ. It doesn't, yes, obedience comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but Allah says, if you want to obey me, then you have to obey the Holy Prophet. There are two words used in the Holy Quran. One is ita'at, obedience, and the other one is ittiba', following. Both of these are wajib about the Holy Prophet. Ita'at and ittiba'. Ita'at is obedience. Ita'at is with the commandments. When the Holy Prophet says something, do, then you have to do it. That is called ita'at, obedience. And ittiba' is to follow the footsteps. Meaning he does something and you follow him in that. His practice, and that is called ittiba'. To follow his practice is called ittiba'. According to the Shias and Sunnis, the Holy Prophet has many exceptions. I'm not sure if you all are aware of this. The Holy Prophet has exceptions, where he's exempted from certain rules, or he has more obligations than us. We don't have as many obligations as him, and we don't have as many rights as him. Everyone following me so far? The Holy Prophet, for example, was allowed to marry more than 4 women at one time. Okay? None of the Muslims are allowed to marry more than 4. The Holy Prophet had 51 rakats wajib in a day. We have 17 fard. Yes? Then we have nafals and, the sunnah and everything. The Holy Prophet had 51. 17 rakat fard, 2 for Fajr, 4 for Dhuhr, 4 for Asr, 3 for Maghrib, 4 for Isha. And then he had the nafilas, for example, 2 for Fajr. He had that wajib, he had to do it. 8 for Dhuhr, 8 for Asr, 4 for Maghrib, 2 rakat sitting down, that counts as 1 for Isha, and 11 rakat tahajjud. These were wajib upon the Holy Prophet. Taking it by وَشَاوِرْهُمْ فِي الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ. 17 exceptions of the Holy Prophet. He had to take advice from the people, from his Sahaba. Even though he had revelation, and the final decision would be with the Holy Prophet, but that was an exception with the Holy Prophet, that he had to take advice, and he would take the counsel from the Sahaba. So these are the exemptions for the Holy Prophet. Then there are many other exemptions for the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet showed miracles for belief, and all the prophets showed miracles to be followed. Whatever was whatever thing was on its peak in the time of a particular prophet, that's what they would. The miracle was connected to that. For example, in the time of Hazrat Musa, it was magic that was a common thing. So Allah gave him 2 miracles. The Yad Baydat, his hand would have light, and the stick that would change into a fire. Hazrat Isa would cure the diseases that no one could. Medical science was on its peak in Hazrat Isa's time, in Jesus Christ's time. So Hazrat Isa would cure the illnesses that no one could cure. Even the dead he would raise to life. He would say, Qum bi-idhni rabbik, stand with the permission of thy Lord. The Holy Prophet, in his time, the Arabs were very proud of 2 things. One, of their language. They were very proud of their language. They used to believe that we are better than all other people because we speak Arabic. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the Holy Quran as a living miracle up to the Holy Quran. As a living miracle up to the revelation. Why? Because the miracle of the whole day the prophets finished when they left this world. Or even if they do exist, then no one can perform those miracles. But the miracle of the Holy Prophet, he performed more than 1,000 miracles. Some say even more. Again, unanimously accepted by both Shias and Sunnis, that the Holy Prophet performed more than 1,000 miracles. But the most important miracle of the Holy Prophet was the Holy Quran, that lives up to the Day of Judgment as a proof over his prophethood. A proof that he was a messenger, and no one can bring a book parallel to the Holy Quran. It remains as a living miracle. The Quran said, "Fatu bimithli hadha Quran." Just bring one book like the Holy Quran. Then it made it easier. Just bring 10 surahs. Fatu ashra surah bimithli. Bring 10 chapters like the chapters of the Holy Quran. Then in Surah Baqarah, verse number 22, it says, just bring one surah. Fatu bi surah bimithli. Wadu shuhadakum min dunillah. And call all the people for help. And no one can bring. And the Holy Prophet had written the shortest surah in Quran, Surah Kawthar. And he said, write it on the placard and hang it in Kaaba. Where Sab'a Mu'allaqat. The 7 best pieces of poetry were hanging in Kaaba. You've probably all heard the story, so I'll just leave it. So, no one could bring something similar, and the challenge still stands. Many people tried, but no one could bring anything like the Holy Quran. That is the living miracle of the Holy Prophet. 114 surahs. And one most repeated verse is Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It has appeared 114 times. It appears before every surah except for Surah Tawbah, Surah number 9. But in Surah An-Naml it has appeared twice. Once in the beginning and once in the middle, where a bird, hudhud, the woodpecker, says to Bilqis that it is from Sulaiman. Innahu Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. It is from Sulaiman and it reads Bismillah ar-Rahman. It starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So the most repeated. Now, a little bit of difference between Shias and Sunnis and within Sunnis and themselves. Is Bismillah part of every chapter, or do we just write it in the beginning of every chapter as for Barakat? There are 3 opinions altogether. One, that it is a part of every surah, that is the Shia view. One, that it is a part of only Surah Fatiha, but not all the other surahs. The third view is of 2 Imams, I think, Imam Shafi and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal, that it is a part, or Imam Malik. It is a part of every surah, but in Surah Fatiha it is a complete ayah, in all the other surahs it is juz-e ayah. There is not a complete verse, but it is a part, a partial verse. Now, nevertheless, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is juz al-Quran, and it is one of the most important verses of the Holy Quran. It has a new meaning before every surah. It has a new meaning. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Now this is one of the living miracles. The other thing was that the Arabs were very proud of their sword fighting. They would fight all the time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Ali ibn Abi Talib to fight the Arabs, and that was, he was given the sword Dhul-Fiqar, the famous sword. And Janab Jibreel salam had said the famous qasida, the famous couplet, that La fatah illa Ali, la sayf illa Dhul-Fiqar. And Allah Maqal and other poets have used it in their poetry. That there is no youth, there is no man, young man, strong like Ali, and there is no sword like Zulfiqar. That was a sword with 2 faces. When asked why Rasulullah does it have 2 faces, he says this is to differentiate between haq and batil, the righteous and the falsehood. So that was to confront all the Arab fighters. These are some of the miracles that the Holy Prophet was given. There are 24 miracles to do with the body of the Holy Prophet. He did not have a shadow. Meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not want anyone to even step on the Holy Prophet's shadow, let alone the Holy Prophet himself. The Holy Prophet always had a cloud on his head. That was to show that the Holy Prophet is always protected, and then again, so he does not have a shadow. And the people who say that he's just like me and you, if there was a cloud chasing one of us all the time, if I was in Lahore, it was with me, and then I came under a lot of pressure. What is it? Is it a jinn? Why is this following me all the time? But the Holy Prophet had a cloud all the time. The Holy Prophet, one of the other miracles was that even on soft sand and clay, when he stepped, many a times he would not leave a mark. And many a time on a rock, when he would place his foot, he would leave a mark. That was one of the other miracles of the Holy Prophet. One of the other miracles of the Holy Prophet was that his hair in his beard and his head and his nails would not grow, so he doesn't cut them and people would step on them. And once in Hajj, Hajjat al-Wada, he only performed one Hajj. When he performed, he shaved his head and all the Sahaba distributed the hair amongst themselves. The Holy Prophet, whenever he performed wudu in front of the Sahaba would take a utensil and collect the wudu water to use it as barakat. The Holy Prophet had many of the miracles. His fingers, he would place them and if there was no water, then there would be water. One of the other miracles, if there was well and there was no water in it, he would place his saliva in it and it would become full of water. And if the water wasn't drinkable, it was sour, and he places saliva in it, then it would become sweet. And there are 24 miracles directly connected to the body of the Holy Prophet. He would always take a black abba, the abba or the rida that he would wear, it was black. And even if he was sleeping, he would cover the whole of his body, his head and his feet, everything. And people could still tell, looking at the Holy Prophet, that this is the Holy Prophet because there would be light coming out of the abba. That's how much light he had. People could tell this is Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Because of that light. For up to 1 to 2 days, whenever he passed by any place, they could smell the fragrance and the perfume in the Holy Prophet's body, the beautiful smell. Even in Hadith Kitab, when the grandsons come to the house and they say to Hazrat Fatima, his daughter, "Inni ashmu indaka ra'ihatan tayyibatan ka'annaha ra'ihatu jannah," saying, "Oh mother, I smell the perfume of our grandfather, the Holy Prophet in the house. Is he here?" And she says, "Yes, he's in that room under that abba, kisa." So the Holy Prophet had a special perfume that only he had, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And whenever there was a bad smell, the Sahaba would be disturbed, but he wouldn't ever have the bad smell because Allah protected him. None of the mosquitoes or insects, yes, dirty insects and animals would ever sit on him. The mosquitoes and flies, they wouldn't sit on the Holy Prophet. He was protected always. No bird would ever fly over on the top of his head. No matter how tall a person was, the Holy Prophet would look taller than him up from the head to the neck. That's how much. He wasn't extraordinarily tall. He was tall, but not like a camel or something. But no matter how tall a person was, they would look smaller, less than the Holy Prophet, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't want anyone to look higher than the Holy Prophet. They always looked less than the Holy Prophet. So there were 24 miracles directly connected to the body of the Holy Prophet. He had Muhr al-Nabuwwat, some say on his back and some say on his shoulder. So these were the miracles. And then there is a famous story that a person on the Hajjat al-Wada, the Holy Prophet said, if anyone has any complaint against me, they can come and ask me if I have oppressed anyone against anything. One person said, "Yes, Ya Rasulullah, you once hit me." He said, "You can hit me back. When did I hit you?" He said, you lashed me on my back. He said, "Okay, you can get the lash and hit me on my back." He said, "No, Ya Rasulullah, but when I did not have my back covered when you hit me. So you have to move your shirt." As soon as the Holy Prophet moved the shirt, the person came running and he kissed the Holy Prophet on the back. He said, "Ya Rasulullah, I lied just to kiss the Muhr al-Nabuwwat on your back." Because the Muhr al-Nabuwwat was on the back. Some say on the shoulder, right hand side shoulder, and some say right just below his neck on the back of the Khatm al-Nabuwwat. Muhr al-Nabuwwat, it was known to be. Many say it said what it said. Nevertheless, he had 17 or 19 white hair in his beard. And the Holy Prophet, amongst all the people, would look different. His face would glow in such a way that people could tell that this must be the Holy Prophet. He would always dress like a common person, not like a special person, not like a king, a very common dress. And he would sit on the floor just like ordinary people, and sit on the floor and eat food. And when people asked him, "Ya Rasulullah, why do you sit on the floor?" He said, "Because ana abdun, I am the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a servant should sit on the floor and eat." And the Imams have said that sitting on the floor takes away pride. It is a cure for takabbur. You should sit on the floor and eat. This is just a small glimpse. He said, "Okay, you can get the lash and hit me on my back." He said, "No, Ya Rasulullah, but when I did not have my back covered when you hit me. So you have to move your shirt. As soon as the Holy Prophet moved the shirt, the person came running and he kissed the Holy Prophet on the back. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I lied just to kiss the Muhr al-Nabuwwat on your back. Because the Muhr al-Nabuwwat was on the back. Some say on the shoulder, right inside shoulder, and some say right just below his neck on the back of the Khatm al-Nabuwwat. Muhr al-Nabuwwat, it was known to be. Many say it said what it said. Nevertheless, he had 17 or 19 white hair in his beard. And the Holy Prophet, amongst all the people, would look different. His face would glow in such a way that people could tell that this must be the Holy Prophet. He would always dress like a common person, not like a special person, not like a king, a very common dress. And he would sit on the floor just like ordinary people, and sit on the floor and eat food. And when people asked him, Ya Rasulullah, why do you sit on the floor? He said, because Ana Abdun, I am a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a servant should sit on the floor and eat. And the Imams have said that sitting on the floor takes away pride. It is a cure for takabbur. You should sit on the floor and eat. This is just a small glimpse from the life of the Holy Prophet. The Bible itself mentions the Holy Prophet as paraclitis or paraclitis. In English they don't say far, it is the paraclitis. In one of the chapters of Bible, and they have mentioned in the Imam Raza salam, he had been asked by the people what are the qualities. He says there are 3 mountains mentioned in Bible, that these are the 3 prophets that will come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from Sa'id, that is Jesus, from Tur Sayna, that is Musa alayhi salam, and the last is Jabal Faran or Paran. In the English translation I've seen they say Paran, Mount Paran. Jabal Faran is the mountain on which Ghar Hira is placed, which is in Mecca, and that's where the Holy Prophet was given the first wahy, the first revelation. So these are the proofs of the Holy Prophet in other books. They have taken out most of the things about the Holy Prophet from in Torah and Bible, but still there are many things about the Holy Prophet in Torah and in Bible. The other common thing between all the Muslims is the existence of Kaaba. The Kaaba itself was first made by Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, and it was made properly in this shape by Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salam and Hazrat Ismail alayhi salam. And many times it was renewed. The grave of Hazrat Ismail, Hazrat Hajra, and 18 of the prophets are inside Kaaba, and in that semicircle which is known to be Hajr Ismail. In that circle, there are the graves of the 18 prophets or the 19 prophets, probably 18 prophets and Hazrat Hajra. They are in that area. So all the ones who say doing tawaf to the graves is a bid'ah and haram. In Kaaba, you always do the tawaf of those graves together. It is according to all Shias and Sunnis, because it's Hajj. I'll just mention it. Tomorrow it'll be Hajj in Makkah. It is wajib according to all the Shias and Sunnis that they have to do the tawaf from outside the semicircle, the Hajr Ismail. They can't go from inside, they have to go from outside. So the graves should be included in it. That is unanimously accepted. Now, again, Hajj is a common practice, and there is only one once in a lifetime Hajj becomes wajib when istata', faman istata' ilayhi sabila. The Quran says when you have the means for Hajj. Again, unanimously accepted by all Shias and Sunnis. There are 13 wajibat of Hajj. According to Sunni brothers, 11 wajibat, and all the wajibat are the same. Ihram, the wukuf in Arafat, wukuf in Muzdalifah, the Rami, the sacrifice, the shaving of the head or the cutting of the hair for the women, the Rami Jamarat, and staying the nights in Mina, again the Tawaf, the 2 rakat namaz of Tawaf, Sa'i. These are all the obligations which are common. I want to be mentioning some of the things that people make up about the Shias, that way they do Hajj. But you probably, obviously, these are old now. Probably people don't believe in these things, inshallah. That they don't do Hajj, and the Shias only go to Iran or Iraq, and that's where the Hajj is. But now, with a few million people attending, you get a few 100,000 Shia attending Hajj every year, so then obviously now they can't say that. But in olden days they would say, oh, the Shias don't do Hajj and that's why they're kafir. You know, to try and use an excuse. They go to Iran or Iraq and their Hajj is done there. They just go to Iran or Iraq. Anyhow, I don't want to go into many of the other differences, but inshallah next week we'll be discussing the furu'at, the practices, namaz, roza, and some of the other zakat and some of the other obligations, what are common. But today just some of the other things in belief. About the hereafter. I didn't keep track of time. We started late, so. So, another probably 20 minutes? 10? 20 minutes. Qiyamah, the Day of Judgment. We all believe that the Day of Judgment we'll all be resurrected. We all have barzakh. Barzakh is a belief of the Muslims. Purgatory, also the Christians believe in it, only the Jews reject it. They say that your spirit wanders around. All the Muslims and the Christians also even believe in it. The Holy Prophet has said your grave can become a garden from the gardens of paradise, and it can become a hole from the holes of the hellfire, the grave itself. Obviously, I don't want to be going into description of barzakh and the su'al of munkir and nakir. All the Muslims believe in. They will come and question you, the munkir and nakir in the grave. There are many, many hadiths on it. On the Day of Judgment, in Maidan al-Mahshar, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold everyone accountable, and then you will either go to the paradise or the hellfire. So that's where everything is decided, the hellfire or the paradise. Common belief. The Shias here believe that the ma'ad will be jismani. It will be a physical, a bodily resurrection. It will not be just the soul or the spirit going to heaven or hell. It will be a physical resurrection. So they emphasize a lot on it. Our Sunni brothers also believe in it, but there may be minor differences. So the unanimous thing is, yes, there is Qiyamah, yes, there is Jannah, and yes, there is Jahannam. You know, the hellfire and paradise. So we all believe in it. Minor differences on the opinion, how and why. Will you go to heaven or hell, which we do not wish to go to. Now, one of the other things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's sifat and attributes. All the Muslims believe in the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Tawheed is unanimously accepted. Sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sifatuhu aynu dhatihi, all of the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are a part of His essence, a part of His dhat. As for the descriptions of the Holy Prophet, we believe all the prophets are, these are the common beliefs. So from Adam to the Holy Prophet, there is one hadith that says 124,000 prophets. There is one hadith by Hazrat Abu Dharr al-Ghafari, where he is asking the Holy Prophet, Ya Rasulullah, Kamil Anbiya. How many Nabi Anbiya were there? Nabi, the plural is Anbiya. He said 124,000. Kamil Mursalun, and how many of those are messengers? Rasul. He said 313. So 313 are Mursaleen. And 5 are Ulul Azm, the ones who were given books. So these are the general common beliefs. And they believe all the prophets are infallible. They do not make mistakes in delivering any message, and they do not commit sins in their life. There may be again disputes on minor issues where the Holy Prophet, according to some Muslim sects, may have made mistakes. So we always do ta'wil of any of the verses that talk about, we interpret those verses differently. Anything that says that this is what the Holy Prophet was said by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For example, he found you dhal. You cannot take the literal meaning here. We will not take the literal meaning. Otherwise, there are many verses in the Holy Quran, if you just take them literally, they may have consequences against infallibility of the Holy Prophet. So we will not accept them as either they're about the Holy Prophet, or there will be a ta'wil, there will be an interpretation of those verses about the Holy Prophet. What does dhal here mean? Not necessarily that he was astray and Allah guided him. فَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًا فَهَدَى in Surah Al-Haq, for example. That he found you astray and he guided you. No, we say that he was never astray, and the guidance here means something else. Probably he was not known to the people, and his name was guided to become famous. Anyway, the Quran from. Generally, in the Shia, we take the tafsir and the ta'wil of the ayat of the Holy Quran from the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And anyway, there will be dispute between Sahaba and Ahlul Bayt. Will give preference to the explanation of the Ahlul Bayt. That their explanation and interpretation will have priority over the explanation and interpretation of the Sahaba. Now, when we say Ahlul Bayt, we don't mean all the Sayyids or anyone who was from the family of the Holy Prophet. Ahl Muhammad and Ahl Bayt Muhammad are different. Yes, the family of the Holy Prophet is extended, and that includes many people, many people, even his family members and cousins and others. But when we say Ahlul Bayt or specify, for example, Masumeen, we only mean 12 Imams and his daughter. So that's a minor difference. But Ahl Muhammad includes more. So we don't have a dispute on that explanation with the Sunni brothers. We accept the others as well in it with Ahl Muhammad, but not Ahl Bayt. On that we have a difference. Anyway, it is something which is disputed on the tafsir of the verse of the Holy Quran. As far as other beliefs are concerned, there are certain things which are known to be usul. If a person rejects any one of those three, they are declared kafir. They are Tawheed, Risalat and Qiyamah. With these three, a person becomes a Muslim, and with the denial of any one of the three, they become kafir. They are regarded as a non-Muslim. So accepting all of these three, a person is regarded as a Muslim. There will be minor things which are directly connected to Tawheed, Risalat and Qiyamah. For Shias, when they mention, they will say that you believe in these three things, then you become a Muslim, and to become a Shia, then you will have Adl of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, divine justice, and the Imamat. With these, a person becomes Shia. But nevertheless, these are the three things that if you deny any one of the three, then you become a non-Muslim. Even if you reject Tawheed or Risalat or Qiyamah, any one of the three. There are other things which a person rejects and they become a kafir, which are known to be daruriyatud deen, which are necessities of religion. They are, for example, a person rejects prayer, namaz, or a person who rejects fasting or zakat or hajj, any one of these things. These are known to be daruriyatud deen. A person who doesn't pray is sinful, a very sinful person. But he will remain a Muslim so long as he doesn't reject. That if not praying demands that he is rejecting prayer, rejection of prayer or fasting or hajj or zakat would mean a person has denied belief in the Quran and the Holy Prophet. Denial of daruriyat al-din. Again, I don't want to go too much into it, but rejecting and not doing something, they are two different things. Rejection of any of the practices again makes a person a disbeliever. Now, there are 4 unanimously accepted practices amongst all Muslims. These are salat, so the prayer, the fasting, hajj and zakat. The Sunni brothers mentioned shahada in the practices, and we mentioned khums and jihad, for example. And many times the ulama would mention a few others like amr bil ma'ruf, enjoining the good, telling others to enjoy the good, and forbidding the evil, nahy anil munkar, to tell others to do amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar, and tabarra, love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the godly people, and hatred for Allah's enemies. Anyway, these are some of the minor issues. But now, major issue about the beliefs. Infallibility of the Holy Prophet itself is one of the major beliefs of all the Muslims. As far as many of the Sunni faith are concerned, the ziyarat of the Holy Prophet is permissible, but how far will you go? Again, what is when you say that La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. What do these words imply? And I want to end with this, inshallah, and if there were any questions, then I will take. When we say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, this bearing with I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Does it mean that we have seen shuhud, shahadat, I bear witness, bearing witness? Shahadat is from mushahada and shuhud. That is to see something. Yes, to witness something. If you went to a court and a person, the judge asks you, have you seen this crime happen? You say, no, but I just want to bear witness that this happened. This person has done so crime. You will be held responsible. Hang on. You're under oath. You can't bear witness falsely. Something you haven't seen happen, you cannot bear witness. When we say there is no God but Allah, have we seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bear witness? We haven't seen you. Allah cannot be seen. According to the Shia faith, even on the Day of Judgment, you cannot see God. Never ever will you see me, O Musa. Even on the Day of Judgment. Never. Anyone, no one can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one can. Even the Holy Prophet. No one can see Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now what does this imply then? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. He alone, without any associates, without any partners. You see the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that lead you that there is no God but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't see the God himself, but the signs. When a person, a Jewish person asked, he said, to Ali ibn Abi Talib, he said, "Ata'budu rabban lam tarah?" Do you worship a God that you have not seen? He said, I have never worshipped a God that I have not seen. He said, you've seen your God? He said, yes. He said, how does it look? He said, that God is not seen with these eyes. He is seen with the eyes of Iman, with faith. The eyes of faith. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot be seen. But when we say that we bear witness that there is no God but Allah, we mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the signs lead to Him. Everything. سَنُرِيهِمْ أَنفُسِهِمْ حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَهُمْ أَنَّهُ الْحَقِّ. We will show them signs in the horizon and in themselves. So all of these signs lead that He is the truth. He is one. You can never see Him. When you say that I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Abduhu wa Rasuluhu, for example, He is the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His messenger, what does it mean? Even today you always bear witness that I bear witness. Have you seen the Holy Prophet himself? Have you seen Abdiyat? Have you seen Risalat? Have you seen the prophethood or messengership? You haven't seen any of those things. But you have seen the signs of the Holy Prophet's prophethood. A miracle like Quran, that living miracle. That leads to the belief in Allah, in the Holy Prophet. That he is the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is still living. He is not like other people. إِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ وَإِنَّهُمْ لَمَيِّتُونَ. You know, many of the Sunni brothers use this verse and they say that the Quran says you are dead and they will all die, for example. But we do not say, even the Shuhada, the Quran says, وَلَا تَقُولُوا لِمَنْ يُقْتَلَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتٌ. Do not, the ones who died, do not even think of them to be dead, the ones who died in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is a shaheed? Who is a martyr? The one, there are two people who go to war. One becomes shaheed because he was a Muslim, and the other one is not a shaheed because he wasn't a Muslim. A Muslim who believed that there was one God and he believed in the prophethood of the Holy Prophet. Just by the belief, if he dies in the battlefield, he is a shaheed and he is living. If a person who, he bore witness on the Holy Prophet's prophethood and he is shaheed, then how the Holy Prophet, can we say, is dead? He is, yes, he is not living, but his death is not like our death. And when he says that, مَنْ زَارَنِي بَعْدَ مَمَاتِي كَمَنْ زَارَنِي فِي حَيَاتِي, that whoever visits me after my death, it is as if he has visited me within my lifetime. So these words have serious consequences, that the Holy Prophet's death is not like the death of other people. Just his wives, for example, they remain his wife even after his death. The Holy Prophet's connection doesn't break. So that respect and honor does not break because they were the wife of the Holy Prophet. So that honor is because due to the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. كُلُّ حَسَبٍ وَنَسَبٍ يَنْقَطَعُ أَوْ يَقْطَعُ إِلَّا نَسَبِ وَحَسَبِهِ. All the bonds and all the relations will break except for the relationship of the Holy Prophet. So what does that mean? So that is, the Holy Prophet himself is different to a common and a layman. This is the common belief of the Muslims, that they believe in Tawheed, the Risalat and Qiyamat, the Holy Quran, and so the things that we've mentioned about infallibility of the Prophets. There are many other beliefs which are known to be minor beliefs. Many others. Many others. These are known to be minor beliefs. Angels, the books of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are not amongst the usul, and rejecting them would mean to reject the Holy Quran and the message of the Holy Prophet. Rejecting one verse means rejecting the whole of the Holy Quran. So accepting The Holy Quran means to accept every single verse of the Holy Quran, and the interpretation of it is with Ahlul Bayt. Today, because it is the martyrdom of the 7th Imam al-Islam, the 5th Imam al-Islam, Muhammad Baqir al-Islam, so I'll just mention one hadith about the Holy Quran from him. He says that the Holy Prophet said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that Quran has a zahir and a batin. Quran has an apparent meaning and a hidden meaning. And the hidden meaning has another hidden meaning until the batin has 70. There are 70 bawatin. One apparent meaning and 70 hidden meanings. We may sometimes come to know just one hidden meaning through a hadith and through the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt al-Salam, or the scholars and the ulama. The Imams themselves have emphasized, they say that if anyone who understands Arabic could read the Holy Quran and understand 1/3 of it, and anyone who strives very hard and works in learning Arabic and works in learning different ulum, different sciences and different arts, then they will understand another third. So that's 2/3 of the Holy Quran. But 1/3 of the Holy Quran, people will still need the Holy Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam to understand that 1/3. So without the ahadith and the teachings, there will be 1/3 that will still not be understood by the people. So 1/3 will still need the Holy Prophet as a mubayyin, as a mufassir of the Holy Quran to understand and comprehend. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. Salam. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى
Anybody any questions? Yeah?
Assalamu alaikum. My question is with regards to last week. I didn't get the chance, unfortunately, to ask the last question. It was regarding the point that you made, I think, in this lecture as well, about the status of Ahlul Bayt and in specific about Hazrat Ali alayhi salam. You said that his status was even higher than prophets. Just to let everyone know, the prophets, some of the prophets, they bring in some of the most reformed literature in the world. So they bring in books, for example, Dawud alayhi salam, they bring in the board, Isa alayhi salam, or in the relevant stuff. He kind of, reformed everything. So what is it so special about Hazrat Ali in terms of bringing a wahi, which the Muhammad bring and other prophets? What is it that is so impacting, that is more higher than prophets?
Okay. Because we've already spoken on this, I'll just give you very brief answers. Hazrat Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, do you believe in Imam Mahdi, that he will come, and Imam Mahdi will come? All the Muslims believe in him. Yes? Now the books, the Shia and Sunni books have said that when he comes, he will lead the prayer, Hazrat Isa will pray behind him. Hazrat Isa, who is amongst the 5 highest ranking prophets. Wa imamukum minkum, even in Bukhari says that the Imam will be from you. Hazrat Mahdi will lead to Hazrat Isa. One of the successors of the Holy Prophet, the last successor of the Holy Prophet, Imam Mahdi, will lead Hazrat Isa alayhi salam. So we say that this is the quality of the successor of the Holy Prophet. He can lead to Isa. So Hazrat Isa will pray behind Imam Mahdi, and only Afdal and Ashraf leads. And Hazrat Mahdi alayhi salam is higher than Hazrat Isa. And Imam Ali alayhi salam is the father of Imam Mahdi alayhi salam, and the first successor. So the first successor and the last successor, they have similar qualities. Hazrat Isa will be praying behind Hazrat Imam Mahdi.
I'm sorry, actually, those topics covered, unless Maulana wishes to go on that, yeah?
Just one question on it, no more. Because we already covered that.
I try not to make it into lecture again. So you said that, I just wanted to clarify one thing. So for the Shia Hadith, they confirm that they actually say literally or unequivocally, they say that Imam Mahdi has a higher status, or is that an assumption that you've made?
This is not an assumption. These are hadiths in Shia and Sunni accepted. Even say Bukhari says, وَإِمَامُكُمْ مِنْكُمْ. Your Imam, the person who will lead the prayer in Bayt al-Muqaddas, will be from you, from the Muslims. Not Hadith will not lead.
I'm not on about leading the prayers, I'm on about the status.
Yeah, only, according to the Shias, only a person with the highest status leads. No one can lead to the person who has a higher level. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا لَا تُقَدِّمُوا بَيْنَ يَدَيِ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. No one should proceed before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Holy Prophet. No one should take precedence. and the higher status as, afdal. And there are many other verses that we use, not only just ayah mubahala, ayah tathir itself, ayah vilayah, many other ayat and many other ahadith. The status of the Holy Prophet himself is higher than all the prophets, and his successors are higher. He says, Ali minni bimanzilati Haruna min Musa. Ali, you are to me like Harun was to Musa. Illa la nabiyya ba'di. He said, there is no prophet after me. So he's mentioned one question from the system. He said all the prophets were infallible. But do we not believe that Prophet Adam ate forbidden fruit? Okay, there are many prophets which is again disputed between Islam and Christianity and Judaism and all within Muslims as well. Did they sin? Was it something forbidden, or was it something that was not forbidden? But when Allah was saying, "La taqraba hadhihi shajarata," do not go anywhere near this tree, that it wasn't forbidden, it was up to the status, for example, up to karahat, discouraged for it, not haram. They did tarki awla, they did not do anything haram. This is the Shia belief. That none of the prophets did ever anything haram. Hazrat Dawood, Hazrat Adam alayhi salam, none of the prophets ever did anything haram, and they did not ever disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it wasn't up to the level where it was haram. The fruit is only and only mentioned in the Bible. They say it was an apple. According to the ahadith, it was probably wheat that we have, the Muslims have. But anyway, nevertheless, I don't know. Whatever it was, لا تقرب هذه الشجرة فتكون من الظالمين. Again, we will have to do ta'wil of all of those verses, and there are deep explanations of all of those verses that do not declare any of the prophets to be disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or doing anything haram. Not Hazrat Ayyub, Hazrat Adam, Hazrat Dawood, none of them. Even Hazrat Yaqub.
मेरा सवाल है कि आपने अपने बयान में जिक्र किया था क़यामत के बारे में, तो क़यामत के दिन फैसले होंगे किसने जन्नत में जाना है, किसने हज में जाना है, तो कब्र के अज़ाब के बारे में ज़रा रोशनी आप डाल सकते हैं कि क्या उनको नकीर का आपने मेंशन किया है, और क्या कब्र का अज़ाब क़यामत तक जारी रहेगा या कब्र का अज़ाब एग्जिस्ट करता भी है या नहीं?
Okay.
You can answer this in English so everyone can understand.
On the day of judgment, everything will be decided where you will go in terms of hell and heaven. The ahadith that we have regarding the su'al of Munkar and Nakir, about the questioning of Munkar and Nakir, and then the Holy Prophet says that this grave will become either Rawdat min Riyad al-Jannah or Hufrat min Hafid al-Nar, a garden from the gardens of the heaven, or a hole from the holes of the hellfire. Many of the hadiths, the punishment will be in the grave. It may start and will continue in the hereafter. The reward may start here. Even for many of the believers, because they were sinful, they will get some sort of a punishment and cleansing of their sins in the grave, and on the day of judgment they will go to the heaven. So during the barzakh, they will pay for their sins. Now, some questions arise, and people had asked in ahadith, they come that what about the ones that have died in earlier stage and the ones who died very near to the day of judgment? So some people will be punished for a longer period and some for a less period. Ahadith say that to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there is no time limit. Zaman and the time itself is only and only for this world and for us. So that significance of time finishes in the hereafter. And quite deep and thorough on the punishment and reward in the grave. Yes, there will be people who will be rewarded. Their reward will start from the grave, and the punishment may start from the grave.
You explained to me that you respect the Sahaba. So just if you could expand on that a bit, because as you said, when the Sunni Imams, they teach us that the Shia don't respect the Sahaba. So then that's always been my understanding, from the beginning. So I mean, just for clarification on that, as a Muslim, if I children could be called Isa, for example, and so on. And the same for Jewish person, we debate the same about Musa Islam. The same as Sunni, we call our children Abu Bakr and Umar. And when we hear their names, we say Radiallahu anhu. And we see them as people that were related through marriages and things, and they're companions of the Prophet ﷺ. And we only love them because we love the Prophet ﷺ. And in the same way we love the family of the Prophet ﷺ because they're his family. And we can, as Sunnis, call our children Ali, Hassan, Hussein, Jafar. There's thousands of people like this. So there's no doubt about the love we have for the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his family, his companions, or any of the Anbiya. How, I mean, you know, do you also say Radiallahu anhu? Do you also name your children Abu Bakr or what? Because you said you respect the Sahaba. So can you clarify this?
Okay, we do respect all the Sahaba, the one that we accept as Sahaba. Okay, number one, our definition may not include all the people as Sahaba. Number one. Number two, our respect for Sahaba is as long as they are loyal to the Holy Prophet and his Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And anyone who is not loyal to the Holy Prophet or the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we do not respect them. We do not even declare them as Sahaba. Okay? So the loyalty to the Holy Prophet and the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam is very important to us. After the Holy Prophet, there were differences amongst the Sahaba, and there were fights amongst the Sahaba, there were battles, Sahaba killed each other. So in that, the opinion of our Sunni brothers is that we should disregard all of those battles and wars, and we respect everyone regardless of what happened. We do not accept that. We say no. One of them was right and the other ones were wrong. Many times, yes, it may not arise and we cannot come to a conclusion. It may happen. Or because our Imams have said no, do not say anything about them. But many times, yes, we do take a course of opinion and a belief. Based on that, we will say that, okay, this one was right and the other one was wrong. So to us, anyone who was loyal to the Holy Prophet and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, they are very honorable to us. And anyone who went against them or fought against them, we do not regard them as holy or sacred or noble. We will just disregard them. Our Imams have mentioned their children, and likewise many of the rulers and kings, you will find similar names. But generally, the Shias, this is what their belief is. They will not regard all the people as Sahaba, but whoever they regard as Sahaba, they will respect them.
So this first time I had a different understanding. So you consider all those who accepted the Khilafah of Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman as people that were disloyal to the Ahlul Bayt?
No. We will not regard all of them to be disloyal because they later on submitted to Imam Ali alayhi salam, and if he accepted them.
So they did. So I'm a little bit confused on this. So did they reject the previous Khilafah? Although they had previously accepted it, they now accepted Imam Ali, so they rejected their own decision. Yeah? They turned against it. Is that what you mean?
No, not necessarily. If they did not turn against their own decision, then again, accepting Ali ibn Abi Talib wasn't accepting for them. Many accepted Imam Ali and then later on went against him as well. It happened in Medina, many people accepted him and broke against Imam Ali alayhi salam. So again, we do not, we just disregard any of the people who broke the allegiance against Imam Ali alayhi salam. So it is the allegiance to Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, which is more important to us. After the Holy Prophet, anyone who rejects the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, we will just disregard them all. Anyone who does not pay allegiance to Ali ibn Abi Talib, because the Holy Prophet in hadith has said, La ya Ali, la yuhibbuka illa mu'min, wa la yubghiduka illa munafiq. Ya Ali, only the believers and mu'minin will love you, and only munafiqeen will hate you. So the hatred for Ali ibn Abi Talib, when it came in, so that's it. We will disregard all of those people. Anyone who broke the allegiance, who fought against him, who went against him, we will not respect them. We will not hold them as holy. Many, yes, even if they fought against him, they repented and they came back. And if he accepted, then we accept. And many times we don't find any proof. If he accepted or if he rejected, then we again do not speak against him.
Assalamu alaikum. I think so many common grounds, whether these are beliefs or practices. My question is why there is so much division and hatred between Shias and Sunnis, and what the Maulanas and the Sunni Maulvis can play their role to bring two communities together? What role they can play?
Okay. I think many things happen that increase in becoming close, and many things happen that increase in going away from each other. We all know that we have differences. In fact, even with all the things that we accept about each other, there are still differences, and what happens is that the bitterness arises when practically people take out, holding a belief itself is one thing, and due to that belief, doing certain practices against the other, that I think increases in the hatred for each other. And over the years, I think many things that have increased in the hatred for each other. Many things have happened. Today, I think the only thing that the Sunni brother you're asking about, Sunni ulama that they can do, in most of the countries, the Sunnis are in majority. So they could play the role of the older brother. And as an older brother, they can, knowing so many differences, can put some water on fire rather than pouring oil on fire. You can put petrol on fire and you can put water on fire. Either you can make this fire bigger of the differences, or you can lighten the fire. Our Imams have openly said to all the Shia that you are not our follower if you ever say anything against the Sahaba to anyone. You're not even a Shia. And the Imams have declared them to be disloyal to the Imams. In fact, even the ones that we do not have so much respect for, they have said that even those you should not say anything against. Because hurting other people would mean that you are causing the word khalid, for example, a gulf between the two, and that should not happen. So I think, yes, there are many Shias who go to the extremes, but I think it happens from both sides. So I think if both sides can do, people like myself, our responsibilities are more if we can take water rather than taking petrol with us, and pour water on the differences rather than pouring petrol. Can I take these questions? Go on.
No, you can answer that question.
I think he has a number of questions. It's a list.
Basically, earlier you said that the Prophet Muhammad had 24 miracles, bodily miracles.
Yes.
I agree with that totally, but what I'm not too sure about is the time where the Quraysh sanctioned a specific number of Muslims. I can't remember where it was, just how the Jews are doing it to our Palestinian brothers and sisters at the Gaza Strip. I just want to understand, how come our beloved Prophet Muhammad, how come he didn't use those 24 miracles, like you said, that he could, that he could spit and water would come out, or I can't remember which ones you said, but you said that he had those miracles. How come you could not perform those miracles then, where they were sanctioned by the Quraysh, so they weren't allowed no food, no water, and whether, I'm pretty sure, because the fact that they were sanctioned, people did die. And around that time, our mother of Islam died as well, Hazrat Khadija. So that's just the area, that's a bit of a grey area for me at the moment.
Okay. Performing miracles does not mean, why couldn't he? No. He could, but he did not. Having the ability and using that ability, not. Having the ability and using that ability are two different things. Did the Holy Prophet, for example, knew that, for example, this is poison in front of him? There are two possibilities. One is that he knows it just like me and you would know it, as a common knowledge. One is that he knows it because of the wahi that was given to him, or because of the special knowledge that he has, not because of his common knowledge, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala informed him of it. Can he now use this not to eat this poison, for example? He can, he has, but does he? Having the ability is one thing and using it is another. having the ability and going through difficult times. Oh well, he should have used a miracle and prayed to Allah. Ya Allah, the dua of the Holy Prophet is never rejected. He could pray, Ya Allah, send down, Anzal alayna ma'idatan min as-sama, send down a dinner table from the heaven. Wouldn't Allah? He would. Not even using the miracle, just pray and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send down the food. Going through difficult times and avoiding difficult times is not like the Holy Prophet and the holy personalities. The prophets did not avoid those things. They did not use their miracles to combat, okay, I don't want to go through a difficult time. It is a trial for them. So they used those, they faced those trials with open hands, with open arms, and accepted them. They did not wish to avoid them. When they showed the miracles, it was when to prove to the people. For example, his own family when invited, he had a small, just one leg of a sheep, a lamb, and he fed the whole. They said, each one of us eats a whole. And they ate more than their capacity, but they did not fill their stomachs because there was a time to show a miracle that he is. And at that time, someone started saying, one of his uncles, Abu Lahab, magician, something like that. There is a time to show a miracle. And the miracle, the time is when he wants to prove that he's something. His family members already believed in him. None of them were in rejection. And they were all alone in Abi Talib in Makkah. Outside Makkah, they had been sanctioned and they were thrown out. Shaykh Abi Talib, it is still in Makkah.
Yeah, but you said that.
He showed them.
Yeah, so like you said, you'd want to prove them or show to them that, look, basically you can't mess around with me, yeah?
You can't mess around.
Because, if you think about it, you'd want to prove to them, look, you can, whatever you bring me, I will fight it no matter what. But when you prove to, the Quraysh would have found out, look, we've sanctioned them, we've got a stronghold of them, yeah? And they've got no food or no water going in or out, okay? They would have known
2.5 years they lived, that's itself a miracle.
But then again, some people didn't. A lot of people didn't.
They were elderly. His uncle died and his wife, they were elderly. So yes, they were going through a difficult time, but they were elderly. The Holy Prophet himself said that we used to many times just eat leaves and grass. Imam Ali said you could see that our skin had become thin. It wasn't as if they were young boys or something. His uncle was probably in his 80s, 90s. His wife was elderly. She was at least 50, at least, if no more. It's disputed how old she was. So she was quite old. They were elderly people who died. 2.5 years, 3 years almost in just surrounding mountains in a small valley with no cover on, So it's a long period. It's not just 1 or 2 nights. They say they 1 or 2 months and then they started dying. No, it was 2.5 years, more than 2.5 years. Where they said Shaykh Abi Talib, and there were many other miracles. So it wasn't a time to show miracles. They asked him to cut the moon in half. They still did not believe. They were still looking at all the miracles, the kuffar of Makkah. They did not believe the Holy Prophet. They said, we'll only believe in you if you cut the moon in half. So he cut it in half. Abu Jahl started saying, it's only your sight that is seeing 2 halves. He said, if you send one to east and the other one to west, then we'll believe in you. He said, okay, one part go to the east, the other one, Ya Allah, send to the west. Now, he's a magician, he's performed the biggest magic. Still disbelieved. Today, even now, there was this documentary that I was watching that many of the Muslims have made that when you take the pictures of the moon, there is as if it was sliced right in the middle. And that is the miracle of Shaqqul Qamar. Idan Shaqqatul Qamar. The Surah Qamar talks about it. Surah number 50, 354, something like that. So if you look at those miracles, the people saw the miracles all the time and they still disbelieved in the Holy Prophet. That doesn't mean it's their kufr. It is the practices they have that stop them away from Islam. Even today, when you see many of the people, from one family, many brothers many people have become Muslims, and there were still a few brothers from the same family who were still kuffar, Christians. So I asked them, what is it that stops you? Is it the Muslims? Is it the beliefs? Or is it your own practices that you can't leave? He said, I think it is more to do that we can't leave the things that we do. As soon as you say, okay, become a Muslim, praying, and you can't drink, you can't eat this, you can't. He said, those are the things that stop us. And most of the time it is that. It is your own practices that stop the people from coming to Islam. And there are 3 or 4 parts of this question. I'm not sure if I should be going into it. We discussed it last week, so I'm trying to avoid going back to the things that we already discussed last week. I'll mention the questions, and if there were other questions, we'll answer them. But I would want to avoid these questions. The brother's written in Urdu, says that Hazrat Islam पर तबर्रक किया गया कई सालों तक. क्या ये दुरुस्त है? किन अदवार में तबर्रक किया गया? कौन लोग थे जो ये तबर्रक करते थे? इसकी क्या वजह थी? I had said that the people used to curse Ibn Abi Talib from the pulpits and in Jummah khutbahs. Who did it? Why did they do it? And how long did it last? The Banu Umayyah had started it. Just very brief answers. I don't want to go into this. Banu Umayyah had started it from the time of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, after the battle of Siffin between Imam Ali and Muawiyah, and it continued up to the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, the last Khalifa of the Umayyads. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz who stopped it. He stopped the cursing of Ali ibn Talib in Islam, and it's continued for about 70 years. From around 38 Hijrah to probably something like 100 and something Hijrah. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz's time it stopped. Why did he stop it? Again, there are reasons why he stopped it, and it was the Banu Umayyah who did it. Again, I don't want to go down. We've already covered these things.
Yeah. Any more questions related to today's topic? Any question from ladies?
Yazid was 7,000 Muslims contributed to the slaughter of Imam Hussain, the grandson of the Holy Prophet, approximately 40 years after the death of the Holy Prophet. It was in 61 Hijrah that Karbala happened, half a century after the sad demise of the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet passed away in 11 Hijrah, end of Safar or the beginning of Rabiul Awwal. And Karbala happened in Muharram, 61 Hijrah. So it was 50 years after the sad demise of the Holy Prophet. 30,000. Tabari has written, Tariq Tabari, one of the famous Sunni writer, he has said 30,000 people had attended from the army of Yazid to kill Imam Hussain and his companions. There is a dispute on how many companions he had. Famous is that he himself was with 72 people. Some have said no, 128 people. But nevertheless, some have counted the children with them, and some say no, the adults were 72, or some say children and adults were 72. Nevertheless, anyway, it doesn't make a difference. They were very few, and they were all surrounded and killed in Karbala, in the plains of Karbala, in 61 Hijrah, by Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Why did it happen to Yazid? That was the basic reason. Yazid had sent for the Bay'at. He had told Marwan ibn Hakam, the governor of Medina, and Walid ibn Uqba, these two people who were both from Banu Umayyah, to take allegiance from Imam Hussain to pay allegiance to Yazid. And Imam Hussain refused. He said, "Mithli la yubayyu mithlah." A person like me would never pay allegiance to a person like him. Sharibul khumur, he openly drinks. Mu'lanan bil fisq, he openly does indecency. He is openly destroying the sunnah of the Holy Prophet. Inni la akhruju bataran wala sharan. I do not make this qiyam, this stand against Yazid as a war and as a power struggle, but it is only and only to do islah, to rectify in the religion of my grandfather, the Holy Prophet, and my father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. So these are the words that he used before he left Medina, and he went to Makkah first to do Hajj, but he said to the people in Hajj that if I stayed here during Hajj, Yazid would send the people and kill me in Makkah. He does not have any respect for the Kaaba. So he left before Hajj and came to Iraq. He was going to Kufa, but he stopped in Karbala. He was stopped in Karbala and killed there. Yazid, after killing Imam Hussain, came to Medina, made it legitimate for his army, and the Waqia Harra, the famous tragedy of Harra, happened, where he had made the whole of the city of Medina of the Holy Prophet halal on his army. As a consequence, 6,000 illegitimate children were born, and they had tied up horses inside the masjid of the Holy Prophet. And the third incident, Yazid had attacked Kaaba to take out Abdullah ibn Zubayr and Mus'ab to take out of Kaaba, and they had locked the masjid of Kaaba and they had taken refuge inside Kaaba. He threw stones and then fire with minjaneek, one of those older day machines, Carafon. They call it minjaneek in Arabic. I always remember the Arabic because I read mostly in Arabic. And they threw fire inside Kaaba, and the cover of Kaaba was also burned from the army of Yazid. The general of that army died in his way back from that journey of the attack of Kaaba. The leader of the army was Umar ibn Sa'd, the son of the Sahabi of the Holy Prophet Sa'd ibn Waqqas in Karbala, the one who killed Imam Hussain. The incident is very tragic. We have all heard and we all know about it. Probably the last question?
This question is really running parallel to my brother who asked the question earlier. I don't really understand why, and I know this from a Sunni point of view because obviously I have friends, and the question was earlier that why don't Shias name their children after the first three Khalifas? So my question runs kind of parallel to that. Why is it that our Sunni brothers, well not all, some, feel the need to name their children Yazid for their daughters, knowing the atrocities that they have committed? In your experience and in your travel, I'm sure you've come across, you've probably been named that. What possesses them to do that, knowing what they've actually done, and to name their children in their honor?
Everyone knows the atrocities. Ahlul Bayt have continuously said, whenever they remembered Banu Umayyah, they would always mention a few incidents. One of them was the killing of Hazrat Hamza, Sayyid al-Shuhada, before Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Muawiyah's mother, Hinda had him killed and had his chest open and his liver taken out, and she wanted to eat it. And whenever the Imams, they talked about Yazid or Muawiyah, they would always say, Wabna Akhiratul Akhbar, the son of the one who tried to chew the liver of the Holy Prophet's uncle. And that those bad feelings always existed between the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, or the Bani Hashim and the Banu Umayyah, always existed. And there are some traditions that say that there are two families. Abu Sufyan opposed Imam Hussain, and last one of them, Sufyani, will oppose Imam Mahdi. His army will oppose Imam Mahdi. So those things have always existed. And our brothers do not, obviously, because no one can defend the doing of Yazid. What he carried out against Imam Hussain Islam, no one can defend that. And everyone hates him. All Muslims. No matter what sect they belong to, they all hate him. Yes, there are. Now recently we've heard a few who have said Radiyallahu anhu to Yazid, but even they do not defend or name their children. We have had other people, probably one or two, but generally it is not a name which the word itself is not bad, but the person was so bad. And that's why Yazid is a term that no one uses. Hind again, maybe a name probably used. I've not come across any Muslims use it, but it may be one last question. But Hind may be a name used. I hope I'm going right down the right track. Answering your question? Or did I follow your question? Okay. Last question.
I understand that from the Sunni perspective, they like to say Hazrat Amir Muawiyah, whereas in Shiaism, you don't class it as Hazrat al-Muawiyah. Can you just shed some light onto as to exactly what went on, as to why you won't accept? And secondly, slightly different, I'm under the understanding that one of the questions you mentioned after the Day of Judgment is Imamaga. What I want to know is what you would answer to that question, and why. Because I know you're going to say Hazrat Ali, but why not the Prophet?
Man Imamuka? Because the question will be Man Rabbuka, Allah Rabbi, Waman Allah Rabbi, Waman Nabiyuka, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam Nabi. So because I would have already answered, having the same question about the same person doesn't make any sense. Okay? If they were going to ask you Man Nabiyuka, Waman Imamuka are the same, then they wouldn't ask you two questions. It would only be one question. Waman Nabiyuka, yes, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam Nabi. Muhammad is my Nabi. Waman Imamuka, who is your Imam? It should be someone, that means it's a different question. If it was about the same person, then there wouldn't be a different question. يَوْمَ نَدْعُ كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. On the Day of Judgment, we'll call every people with the Imam of the time. What does it mean? So the Imam itself is someone who is divine, important. So that's why we say that is Ibn Talib, and there are only 12 Imams. So, and that the answer to that question is Imam Ali ibn Talib. Because there are traditions in Shia books where when the mother of Imam Ali died, the Holy Prophet, when Imam Ali approached him crying, he asked him, why are you crying? He said, Ya Rasulullah, my mother died. He said, Ya Ali, don't say your mother died. Say to me, Ya Rasulullah, your mother died. Because Ummi ba'da ummi, she was my mother after my mother. She looked after me. She made great sacrifices for me. So he took off his abba and he said, wrap it around her as her kafan. And also, he entered her grave before putting her body inside and touched it and said that, oh grave, do not hurt my auntie because I will hold you responsible on the Day of Judgment, because his auntie had requested that from him. When he buried her, he was crying close to the grave. In our traditions it says that the Holy Prophet was sitting down and suddenly he started saying, Ibnuki, Ibnuki. So the Sahaba asked him, Ya Rasulullah, why did he say that? Your son, your son. He said, because the angels asked her, Man Rabbuki, she said, Allah Rabbi. Man Nabiyuki, she looked at me and she said, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam Nabi. And they asked her, Man Imam, who is your Imam? And she looked at me. So I said, Ibnuki, your own son is your Imam. So to us, asking that Man Nabiyuka, Man Imamuka, who is your Nabi, who is your Imam, if it is for the same person, then it is a repeat. It doesn't make sense. So it should be a different answer. That was the last question.
I think there was a Muawiyah question. That was asked.
Sorry, what was it? The comment about... Basically, because of the battle, and not only just because of the battle, because of the cursing that went on, and because of all the... it was so common amongst the people of Syria to believe that Ali did not even pray namaz. That when he announced that Ali had been killed in Masjid al-Kufa and Sajda, people were saying, hang on, what was Ali doing in Masjid al-Kufa? Why was he praying? You told us that he didn't pray. What was he doing in Sajda and what was he doing in the masjid? Even, our Sunni brothers always mention the sulh, the peace treaty between Imam Hassan and Muawiyah, but they don't ever mention the conditions. In all history books when you pick up, there were 4 conditions. Muawiyah signed the papers and said to Imam Hassan, you write the conditions down. Whatever you write, I accept. He signed the paper and sent it to him. Imam Hassan, the first condition he writes, he says, I, Hassan ibn Ali, Hassan son of Ali ibn Abi Talib, request Muawiyah and all of his followers to stop the cursing of my father, Ali ibn Abi Talib. Secondly, if the Ahlul Bayt did not believe that they deserve the Imamat, Muawiyah would put this other condition. He appointed him as his successor. Even though Muawiyah was ruling, he said, came in power, but was removed by Muawiyah, and he himself said, in the conditions, he said, if Muawiyah dies, then the Khilafah comes to me. And if I wasn't living, then it would go to my brother Hussein. So even Imam Hussein believed that it continues in the household of the Holy Prophet. So basically, we have strong feelings about Muawiyah and all the Banu Umayyah. Yazid, Marwan, Walid, all of them, whoever has cursed Ali ibn Abi Talib, whoever continued for 70 years cursing of Ali ibn Abi Talib. They wouldn't even lead prayer. The son of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Zainul Abidin, Ali ibn Hussein, the one who was present at Karbala at the age of 22, 23. People asked him, why don't you attend the Jummah prayer in Medina? He used to live in Medina. He lived 35 years after the Karbala incident of Karbala. And most of it was spent in Medina, the city of the Holy Prophet. He said, why don't you attend? In one period, he was asked, why don't you attend? He said, because the person who leads the prayer curses my grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib. Marwan used to curse Ali ibn Abi Talib in the khutbah. So, I don't, 3 people asked me the same question, so I had to go a little bit into it. But again, these are the feelings that we have. Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, Tabari, all the others, you'll pick up the history books, they've all mentioned. Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya, volume number 7, page number 239. I was just looking before coming. He even mentions, Ibn Kathir, he even mentions that even on a Hajj trip, a person, Sa'd ibn Waqqas said to him that, look, we're on Hajj. Kana Muawiyah, Yashtum, Shatm and Sab, these are the 2 words for you, swearing. And not just cursing. La'an is a word for curse. Yashtum, Shatm and Sab. Sab and Shatm, these are swear. He was swearing at Ali ibn Abi Talib. Not just cursing, he was swearing at him. So even in Hajj, he said no. He had no respect whatsoever for Ali ibn Abi Talib. And that's why we have so strong feelings about Ibn Umayyah. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Can we recite Surah Fatiha for all the people who may have died during this month, especially for the lady and all the people who are in Hajj and have died during the flood today. So Fatiha. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم إلهي بأخص صفاتك وبعز جلالك وبأعظم أسمائك وباسمة أنبيائك وبنور أوليائك وبدم شهدائك وبمداد علمائك وبدعاء صلحائك وبمناجاة فقرائك نسألك زيادة في العلم وصحة في الجسم وطولا في العمر في طاعتك وسعة في الرزق وتوبة قبل الموت وراحة عند الموت ومغفرة بعد الموت ونورا في القبر ونجاة من النار ودخولا من كل بلاء الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة بحق محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين صلوات